Hey skiers, this is Matt with skiessentials.com and welcome to my mid 100 millimeter underfoot comparison. Just kidding, it's actually my Quiver. Some people have made some comments that they're trying to decide on the over-under of how many skis I would have that are 95 mil underfoot and lower. If you had the over at 1, then you would be correct and you win. Typically, I gravitate towards skis that are around 100 millimeter underfoot. So that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about here. And also taking a look, there's a lot of interesting dichotomies here, like a lot of long turn radiuses, or radii, excuse me, and then some short. So there's that, and then also color choice. There's a lot of bright skis up here, but also some kind of more muted and subtle and kind of all black, stealthy looking stuff. That's kind of where I tend to go, as you can see by my all black outfit. So a little bit about me there. And then I kind of split the difference between Jeff and Bob. You know, I have a good amount of boots, but not as many as Bob. And I think I have 1 or 2 more than Jeff. And then I think also splitting the difference should be around as many skis, but let's get into it. So first I'm going to start off with the Dynafit Radical Pro. It's a 29.5. Typically I wear a 28.5. I actually got these accidentally a size too big, and I wish I got them a size smaller, because after a big day or after a long day in the backcountry, these tend to get a little bit roomy. But other than that, I love these things. I would love to get these in a 28.5 at some point, and typically I run these with these QST 98s, as those are kind of my most efficient touring setup. I know that's kind of weird to say since it's a QST 98, but I just like that ski and think it works great for me. But 3 buckle system. I really like this strap here. It kind of pulls you into the boot a little bit more. We see something similar on the Salomon here with their EXO belt. But really comfortable boot. Really like the liner on this one too. It's pretty torn up just from all the use, but this is typically what I use when I try to go out for longer days, or if I'm going to do some ski mountaineering, which I do like to do. I didn't bring any ice axes with me or crampons, but this is typically the boot that I go for. So that's the Dynafit Radical Pro. Forgot to mention it is around a 130 flex, but that's up for debate really, since it's a touring boot. And then next up, thank you Nordica. They actually were kind enough to have me test a pair of these last year and really enjoyed them. This is the Nordica Unlimited 130. Big fan of this boot, really like the minimal design, good amount of movement fore and aft with this boot, so really efficient. And then I really like this buckle system down here. It's really nice for when you get to the bottom of your run and you can just unclick this bottom buckle, and then the whole bottom part of the boot is loose. So that's really nice to give your feet some blood finally at the bottom of your run. Really high quality boot and really secure, good power transfer. Just really like this boot overall. It just looks nice as well. I'll move on. And then also thank you Technica. They had me test out this boot last year, spent a lot of time on this one. This one has a little bit of a thicker liner, so typically when I'm going out for a day of touring and it's really cold out, I'll tend to use this boot. Just gives my feet a little bit more insulation and just keeps it warm without making my feet sweat too much. I do think that there's a little bit more efficient power transfer in the Unlimited, but then again, I feel like this one it just feels stiffer overall, so that might be a little bit odd, but that is what I noticed. But really like this boot. This is the one I actually brought out with me to Crested Butte last year, did a lot of touring on it, and skied some really good snow out there. So really like this boot, and it's one of those ones that for people that want a true 50-50 boot, like if they want to ride these with their regular Alpine setup and then have like a hybrid touring setup, I think this would be a great choice. The Unlimited is as well, but I think because these are just slightly more stiff, they can be a little bit better for when conditions are firm. So great choice for someone that's looking for a pure 50-50 type setup there. And then moving on, We got the Head Formula 130. Thank you, Head. They were kind enough to send me these this year to do some testing on. I've never skied a Head boot, so I'm really excited to test these out, and should be somewhat similar to this Kastle over here. But forgot to mention as well that I am a US shoe size of around 13, and then most of my boots are a 28.5. And typically I fit really well with any mid-volume boot. Like I have kind of a wide foot, but I can get away with a narrower boot most often. I do get a pretty good amount of foot pain, but usually I'm okay with just dealing with it for about a week, and then usually it's fine. I don't typically have to get a lot of boot work done, which I'm very thankful for. So really excited to see what this one feels like. Felt great right out of the box. Really nice liner, really nice flex pattern to it. And something else that's really nice is that it came with some extra rivets that you can put in the back here and make it actually a 140. So you can really bolster what you can do with this one. And then also it does have a liquid fit option as well. If you want to get a full custom fit, kind of right around the ankle area, really fill that section of your foot out. But other than that, feels like this one's going to be a really good one, and one that I'll be using a lot for our ski testing. So I'm pretty excited to see what that one has to offer. We'll move on. Last touring boot in the conversation. Big thank you to Salomon. My favorite color is purple, so I'm really excited about these. And this is actually going to be my first BOA boot. I'm interested to see what the BOA is all about, just because I am someone that typically has my boots unbuckled until I'm about to drop in or go down for a run, and I really crank them down. And I'm looking to see if the BOA would be able to find a middle ground between tight enough where I'll get the downhill performance that I need, but then also have a good amount of blood circulation as well. So I'm interested to see what that fine tuning process looks like. I mean, most boots do have the fine tuning mechanism where you can kind of twist and screw in the buckles to get a more refined fit, but I'm interested to see what the BOA does for me. And then I'm really, really intrigued by this exo belt system, because most of the times the BOA boots just have another one of these right here that just goes parallel to this one, whereas this one comes from the actual rivet on the side and the pivot area. So pull that heel into the heel pocket a little bit more, because I really don't like when my heel lifts at all. Tends to make me a little bit unconfident, and I like to really drive a ski. So I'm excited to see what that one feels like. And there does seem to be a good amount of fore and aft movement, and I'm really, really intrigued by this one. And I think that I'm going to be using them for a bunch of touring in the early mornings, especially on powder days for sure. And then also, like if we're doing our ski testing and there is fresh snow, a lot of times the skis that we test do have the option to be a touring ski. So I think that it would be nice to do some testing on a touring boot with it as well, instead of just using alpine boots when in the resort, because I think that a lot of people would benefit from what we have to say about that, because that is a lot of people. A lot of people can't have more than one pair of boots, and if they do tour, usually they'll have a hybrid boot. So it's nice to have one that can do it all. So yeah, really, really excited about this one. I did put in the laces for the liner. I've never done that before on any of the other boots that have that option. So I'm intrigued to see how that works. I think it'll be nice because my socks sometimes can't get folds in them after a long day of touring, and it's really annoying to keep having to pull your socks up. So I'm wondering if that will just keep the liner nice and tight and make sure that my socks aren't getting folds in them constantly. So that should be very, very nice. And then moving on to the Kastle K130P. And I have to thank Bob for pointing me in this direction. And Kastle was kind enough to hook me up with a pair last year. And this is what I spent the majority of my days on. I did literally everything on this boot. So pretty much hiking up to the top of Mount Mansfield a lot. Most of my ski testing was done on this boot. Just a really cool recreational plug boot option for people. I really like how thick the plastic is. Your feet are really close to the plastic due to the thin liner, and I really found that I like that. And then also because of that thin liner, my feet didn't sweat as much. So the lack of insulation actually made my feet warmer, which is nice. It's very similar to a lot of philosophies of base layers and how you want to layer when you're going out for a tour or just skiing in general or anything cold weather related. So really, really big fan of this boot. I like the simplicity. I like how the plastic comes up very, very high from the lower part of the boot up into the upper layer. So if you open it up, that plastic down on the blue plastic comes up really high and then nicely folds in. So you get a lot of power transfer there, a lot of trust and support in the boot. So really big fan of that one. And I think that these in my size in the 28.5 actually go out to a 102 millimeter last. I think Bob's is down at like a 98, just because he's a size smaller. But I haven't noticed that there's too much room, because usually I prefer a boot that's around 100 mil in the last width. But these felt great. Never swimming in them, but always comfortable. Pretty much a do-it-all boot for sure. So big fan of these boots for sure. All right, so the one ski that is under 95 mils, it's gonna be the Black Crow's Mirus Core. And this ski is just one that I rationalized as I can have it forever and I can just take it out whenever I want. If I only own like 2 skis, this would probably not be one of them, just because for the majority of days, it's not necessarily something I would grab for. But when the conditions are ideal and when I know the groomers are going to be perfect and I just want to play around, they're hard to beat for sure. I have the 184. I'm 6'2", so kind of wanted something on the longer side for these. I do know that some people like to size down a little bit, like Bob likes the 178, but I ended up going with the 184 just for some added high-speed stability. But these things are absolutely incredible, just so much fun, so dynamic. It's one of those ones where if I want to make my legs burn and make as many turns as I can in every run, get the most bang for my buck early in the morning, these are going to be them. Also found that they're really fun in the spring too. Just when like the snow isn't ideal, maybe do some park laps, do some jumps. They are a twin tip, so definitely really fun for that. I do avoid rails just because I want to keep the edges nice and pristine, but it's just a really fun option to have. And I'm one of those people that is very lucky enough to have the opportunity to own them. But then I have a over 10-year-old Pivot 18 on here, pretty destroyed because they were on my old park skis, missing the window. They couldn't get certified, but they got tested, and they tested right on the money. So very, very happy with these. And I like the white to go with the orange and white graphic in the sidewall. So pretty sweet option there. And next up, QST 98, this is 2023 with a Kingpin 13. This is the efficient touring ski in my quiver. So for mornings that like we don't have a ton of fresh snow, or I just want to do a quick lap for exercise, this is the ski I'll use just because it's the most efficient on the way up. And then also, if they're just a great tree ski too. That's the other thing. Like they have so much tip and tail rocker that they're very, very maneuverable. This is the 189, so they are a little bit long, but I find that they're great. And also like they're a great carving ski too. When the snow is nice, they're really fun to carve. You can manipulate them very easily because they're not the most stiff. So like there's a lot of playfulness to it, but once they're on edge, they grip and rip. Like they can hook up really nicely. But I kind of did this just as a lighter weight option to my QST 106. So just one of those ones that's a little bit more on the efficient side for me, and just something that is nice to have as an option as well. So I end up using this one probably about 5 to 10% of my days, but a lot of times like I'll have this in the car in case my friends decide like, hey, we want to go tour this really quick on like a Saturday or Sunday when most of my friends are skiing in the resort, and then some of them are like, we want to go do some backcountry. I'll usually just have this in the car just in case, just because no matter what the conditions are, they're going to be great. So really, really fun ski, really versatile, in and out of the resort. Just a great middle of the road option in terms of weight that I can take out whenever I need. And next up, this is the ski that I use most often, the Declivity 102 Ti from 2024. It does get a change for 2025. Haven't gone out of my way to source a 2025 yet, just because I really like this one as well. Love the 2025 as well. I love that they put that poplar wood core in. This one has Karuba, so it has a lot of pop and zest. So still on the stiffer side, just because it has a fairly thick core profile. But this is on a weekend day, because usually during the week we're out testing every day. But if I'm doing a personal ski day, this is typically what I always am on. Carves some of the best and smoothest turns out there. The Declivity series has kind of been a dark horse for a while, and it's been no secret from us that that's how we feel about it. And pretty much anybody that we put on this ski, they leave that with an intent to buy it. They just find it really, really versatile in any snow condition, pretty much take it anywhere on the mountain. They do have a little bit less tail rocker, so they can get a little bit caught up in the trees. Like the tails aren't the easiest to release, but if you put some effort behind it, they're just fine. They're really nice and smooth and easy to handle in the trees. But yeah, like there's just not a ton of tail rocker back there, but all that camber right underfoot just gives you so much energy out of the turn, and that part is just so fun. And then also matching that with a good amount of tip rocker. If you get some fresh snow, it floats for days. And a lot of times here in Stowe, if you're not on the first chairlift up, you're probably going to get a bunch of chopped up powder on your way down, and these just charge right through that. And then once you hit a patch of like fresh snow, you float right on top. Nice easy turns through there. But yeah, this is my, I guess you could say, daily driver. And if I had to pick two skis on this wall to have, this would certainly be one of them. They're just incredible. Love them so much. Ever since I got on them 2 years ago, just been a huge fan of these things. And funny story, actually, my girlfriend's dad, he's 62, and he wanted to try these, and we have the same boot sole length. So I put him on these, and he took one run, and he said, "Get me a pair." He wanted the exact same thing, gold pivots, same size. He's like 6 foot, but he wanted the 188, and he's a converted daily driver to the Declivity 102 Ti. So that's pretty cool that it transcends ages that much. And he's a very classic skier, likes to, 2 feet together, short skidded turns, and he loves these things. So it can accommodate a lot of different skiing styles, a lot of different conditions, a lot of different terrains. So Declivity 102 Ti, absolute weapon for sure. All right, and then next up, a little bit different of a direction here. This is the Head Oblivion 102 for 2025. Thank you to Head again. First time I got out on this ski was last year for our media day, and it was just a perfect pack powder day right after a big dump that we had. And I spent the majority of the day on this, and then I was on the Core 105 and the Core 99. And I was just having so much fun on this ski. Just it carved incredibly, and they're also pretty light and maneuverable as well. It's just a very interesting ski. Like there's not a lot of taper compared to something like this QST 98. The widest part of the ski is all the way up here. So pretty much like the more edge angle that you generate, the more grip you get, and then the tighter the turn radius becomes. So it's very easy to make a whole different variety of turn shapes. So just a really fun option for around here, I think. And it's kind of an outlier in its turn radius. Like this 189 has a 25.1 meter turn radius. So I'm guessing that it's going to be a really good tree ski just because it's fairly straight. It's really going to be really easy to release that tail. But then I'm interested to see how it does in the trees and soft snow because there's not a lot of taper to it. So it might actually be turny in the tips, but then not have a bunch of bite in the back. So they might be really easy to just kind of change direction and turn. And that coupled with the lightweight, I think it's going to be really, really fun. But then I got a Tyrolia Attack 17 on these, and very grateful to Head. They saw me on it and saw how much fun I was having during our media day, and they were like, "Do you want a pair of these?" And I was like, "Yeah, for sure." So glad to finally be able to have a pair of my own that I can spend a lot of time on, because I think a lot of people would benefit from a ski like this that's just light, easy to move around, but also have a super high performance ceiling. As I was saying before, the carving performance of these skis is off the charts. There's a lot of torsional stiffness in there, a lot of high-speed stability. So I think for around here, it's a great option for someone that just wants around 100 underfoot twin tip without metal, because these use carbon instead of metal. So they're going to be snappy, full of energy, and just a blast, I think. So really, really excited about this one. I haven't tried it in the 189 yet. I was on the 181, and I had those feelings toward it. So, there is a lot of stability there, even at the shorter length. So I think this 189 will just take it to a whole nother level. And Bob has been interested in trying the longer length, so hopefully his boot will be able to fit in this, so then he can give it a go. But yeah, really, really excited about this one. And I think it's almost like a similar conversation to the Declivity, where it's kind of a dark horse series of skis. And I think that once people get on it, they'll kind of realize its potential. So really, really excited about this one, and see how it goes. All right, more touring skis. Just picked up these recently this summer during our warehouse sale. I've always been a really big fan of the Nordica Enforcer 104 Free, but I just couldn't. I had a tough time with how much it weighed. I really like the shape of it. It's kind of a twin tip, but also not really at the same time. And I think I always thought like this would be an amazing tree ski for around here. And I just like the weight of them. They're fairly heavy. Like I think they're about like around 2,100 grams per ski without a binding. So after a long day out there, like I kind of felt like, that would be pretty tiring. But I think that with this Unlimited, with the use of carbon instead of the metal, it would be a good, split difference between the two options. So this will be put into use a lot. I think that most days when I tour now, it's really when there's fresh snow. Before I started ski testing here a lot, I would be going most mornings and just doing it for exercise, trying to get as many laps as I could. But now, since we test every morning, I just don't really have the desire to wake up even earlier and then go get a lap and then be all sweaty and wet and gross for when we're actually doing our testing. So I think that these will be a great weekend warrior backcountry setup for when we do get some fresh snow. 104 underfoot, it's kind of right in the sweet spot for a soft snow ski for around here. You don't need much more than that, but it's nice to have it in some situations, especially when we're at the top of Mansfield. A lot of those spots up there can get really windblown and loaded with a bunch of snow. So it's nice to have a good amount of float underneath you. But then I have a Shift 2 13 on these. Became a really big fan of the Shift 2 after trying it on the QST X over there. I have had multiple pairs of the previous generation Shift 1, and I was a huge fan of that binding. I know that's a little controversial, but I've never had any issues with them as long as you keep an eye on the toe height and make sure that they're properly adjusted. I've never had any issues. So I'm really excited to put some time in on these. I've never skied them. So this was kind of a blind purchase, but I kind of knew that I would like them just because of how much time I spent on the 104 Free. So this one should be a blast, and I'm really excited to take these out a lot this winter. This should be exactly what I'm looking for. So excited about that one for sure. Excited about all my skis. They're skis. Can't not be excited about them. And next up, QST 106. I self-proclaim myself the QST kid, as you know, I have a lot of them, but I just think they're great. They're just so much fun, so smeary and smooth. You know, I used to compete slope style a little bit, so I was definitely a park rat as a kid, but my main event was skier cross. And so like I have some carving background with that, but I'm still kind of a park rat at heart. So I like a smeary, kind of loose ski that, you know, I can flick around. You've probably seen it in the videos. I like to just charge down and make some pretty nice carving turns and then just kind of put them sideways. That's just kind of my style. I like to slash and smear. So these perfectly fit that style for me. And also I found that these are one of the better skis if you're traveling. So, you know, when we go out west, it's hard to pick a ski or a couple skis that you want to bring, but these are always one of them just because 106 underfoot can handle really any snow depth that you need. There's just so much surface area up in these tips that it's really easy to stay on top of the snow. That rocker profile just makes it really easy in soft snow, but then also they're great on trail as well. When there's maybe not a lot of fresh snow when you go out there. Like for instance, last year I went to Crested Butte, brought the QST X's over there and these, and I was perfectly happy. I spent the majority of my time on these just because there wasn't any fresh snow and it was kind of like this sun-baked, weird slush and not slush at the same time stuff. So it was just a great option for whatever you may encounter. You're ready for it. And then I also brought these with me to Chamonix 2 years ago, and that was perfect. We got there first couple days, they just got like a full meter of snow, and then by the second day it was all tracked out and kind of gross, and I was just happy to have these because the first day it was great and just super floaty, very easy to maneuver. Did some ski mountaineering there as well. And then once they kind of got sun-baked and tracked out, these are still nice and powerful enough to bust through that crud, stay on top, and just they're just a great option to have for when you don't know what you're going to be encountering. So really big fan of the QSTs in general, but the 106 really has a special place in my heart for sure. This is actually my third pair, so. All right, moving on to another recent purchase. This is the Nordica Unleashed 108 and a 186. My apologies, I forgot to mention that the QST 106 I have over here is a 188. These are a 186. Got some Pivot 15s in the Forza 2 color. Massive fan of this colorway. I've been looking for a ski to put these on and had to do a bunch of little binding swap shenanigans to get these to fit, but very stoked to have them on here. I kind of like the, you know, the black subtleness of the ski and then some pop in the bindings. But yeah, these skis spent a good deal of time on over the last 2 years, but just in a testing format, like whenever we do media days, or maybe we have a pair of demos here that we could take out. I do love these just because they are just some of the most fun carving skis out there. For being 108 underfoot, they really have no business carving as well as they do. And I just think that they're going to be a really good option for stow for when we do get some fresh snow, just because a lot of times it's pretty firm underneath the fresh snowfall. And I think that these, once they kind of dive through the fresh snow and get to that firm underlayer, they're going to be able to actually grip. Because sometimes in these wider bodied skis, you get to that firm layer and then they just kind of, you know, flounder a bit. But these, they like to lock in and keep you going on track. So these I think will be one of those ones that I grab for when we do have a powder day and I'm just going to be skiing the resort. Great for just busting through those kind of snow piles that are all over the place And then when you get to the groom stuff to get back to the lift, it's going to be an absolute blast. But yeah, these are pretty interesting because they don't really have a lot of rocker for a 108. And like, that's not a whole lot, but they have a lot of splay. So the going theory is that they kind of create their own rocker in a sense, where they're not overly stiff. So when you're going through, when you have the ski weighted in fresh snow, they kind of go like that because they're not overly stiff. Like, they kind of create their own rocker profile, a little bit more dramatic as the snow gets deeper. So I'm excited to see what that translates to, if that's actually true. That's the going theory. I'm excited to see if that is how it happens and how it turns out. But yeah, pretty much anytime I have the chance, I want to take these out. They're just so much fun, so much fun. And to round it out, similar to the Black Crowes conversation, but this is the QST X from Salomon with a Shift 2. But I got these as kind of my one and only powder ski that I will ever need. It's just one of those ones that I was like, I'll probably take it out, once, twice, maybe 3 times a year, and then put them away. It's just nice to have that option of a nice wide ski. Before, it was my QST 106 was my widest ski, and I've always kind of wanted a powder ski. It's kind of like one of those things where you shop for skis that you think that you need or think that you want, and you probably won't ever use them or need to use them. But I kind of gave into those feelings and got myself a pair of these. I won't say it's because they're purple, but that was definitely a contributing factor for sure. But I like the way that these are designed. They're pretty much meant for exactly my skiing style that I was describing before, like fast and straight, and then putting them sideways. Long turning radius, 16 meters, so that really helps out in that regard. But they're really interesting. Like, they have the QST 106 Echo construction, so a little bit more on the lighter weight side, but the dramatic amount of early taper, the crazy dramatic tip and tail rocker makes them very maneuverable, very floaty. And that's what kind of differentiates itself from the QST Blank, and that these are less turny. They're just not going to want to hook too much, because in the tip, when you're in that fresh snow, if it's wider in the tip like that Blank, it's going to want to pull the tip of your skis up towards you, whereas these, there's so much taper in it that they kind of just want to plow through. So I think that suits my style really, really well. And then the lightweight also just makes it more versatile in a sense of, when I go out west, I could take these on any touring expedition that I want to do. And because of that lightweight construction, I thought that I would want to go a little bit a little bit longer than usual. So these are actually the 192. So for my 6'2", 200 pound frame, they work out really, really well. So love these things. So much fun. Not the best on trail, but it's powder ski, so you can't really expect much. But even in Vermont, these things are great. They're just so swivelly, pivoty, smeary, and maneuverable that even in our tight trees, I had no problems with the 192 at all. And I mounted them at the recommended. Some people like to put them forward 1 centimeter, but they're pretty close to center as is. So I felt that the recommended mount point was just fine. And speaking of mount point, just about every one of these is at recommended, for the exception of 2. The QST 98, I have about 2.5 centimeters forward of recommended. I think my instructions were -5 centimeters from true center. So I just wanted them to be able to be a little bit more pivoty, not have too much ski out in front of me. So that's what I did for that one. And then the Oblivion 102, it actually has 5 different mount points. There's a ski center, and then an all mountain mount point that's 5 centimeters back from that. And I put mine at, I think negative 2.5. So right in the middle, because I wanted them to be really, really pivotey and smeary and playful. So that's what I went for that. But everything else is on the line. You know, these skis are designed to be skied at that mount point. So a lot of times it's just best to go with that recommended line. But sometimes it is fun to play with those things. So that's it for my skis. And lastly, we have poles. Seems like that's something that we're doing this year. I love it because I love some flashy poles when I have the option. But these are some Scott poles. Honestly, don't even know what model they are. They kind of showed up at my desk and no one owned up to them. So I kept them, cut them down, put some new grips and new baskets on them, and they're kind of my resort tree ski pole. Similar to Bob, I took the straps off these just because when I'm in the resort and I'm in the trees, I don't want to get my pole stuck on something and then, you know, have my whole arm ripped off. So these are a nice option to have just for safety, and also if you crash, they're a little bit easier to find because of the yellow color. So big fan of these so far. I've only had a couple days on them because I got them late last year, but super fun. I like some flash. And speaking of flash, these are my touring poles. These are the Black Crow's Duos Freebird. So they are adjustable. Which is nice. Love some adjustable poles. For the past like 5 years, I've been skiing almost exclusively adjustable poles, just because I didn't want to spend money on multiple pairs of poles. So that's kind of what I ended up with because I was doing so much touring at the time. But love these long grips. I think that after having that, after not having it for a while, I am fully sold on a long grip like this, especially when you're doing traverses when ski touring. It's nice to choke up on the uphill side instead of like having one arm like this and one arm like that. It's nice to be able to choke up and then both of your hands are at the same level. And then another thing too I really like about these poles is that the tops have this metal cap. So when we're doing boot packs or doing some technical ascents, it's nice to like kind of plunge with these and almost use them as kind of like a stake that you can pull on. Because sometimes when you try to use the actual basket portion, the pole can only go so far in and you don't get as much grip. So love these for all my touring and ski mountaineering escapades. But yeah, big fan of these. Definitely seen these in a lot of our videos. And then similar story here to the Scott, but these leaky bold light S's ended up at my desk at the end of last year. Looks like somebody returned them but kind of destroyed them, so we can't resell them. So they kind of just ended up at my desk, and I'm excited to use these for a lot of our testing, just because it is just a true resort pole, nothing special. I have had multiple pairs of leaky poles in the past, and I love the clip. Love the clip. Just kind of splits the difference between these two, where you know, if they do get stuck on something, you can they pull out, and it save your wrist and your shoulders and your elbows from kind of getting torn up if they get caught in something. So love the grips too, just super ergonomic, really comfortable, really nice. And also I found that it's really helpful for like when you're doing grabs off jumps or anything, because you can fully let go of the pole, search for your ski instead of having to just kind of reach with just your other fingers. So really like these, just really intuitive, easy to use. You know, when you get to the bottom of the lift, you just clip out of them really easily. Can, you know, get on the lift nice and easy, and then when you get to the top, just click them in. So I love the leaky clip system for sure. And then kind of went the other direction where they're kind of subtle. So be good for our photo shoots and our filming, just to draw attention to the skis, because that's the important part. But I think that's it. Maybe I should go through what boots I use for each ski. So for the Black Crows over there, I have those set up for my Kastle boots, just because they're a carving ski. These are my go-to carving boot. So that one goes with the Black Crows. The QST 98, since that's my efficient touring ski. I typically use that with my most efficient touring boot, which is going to be the Dynafit right here. Just a lot more range of motion in this boot compared to some of the other touring boots, and that's to be expected. It's meant to be a touring specific boot, so that's typically what I have set up for that. And then for my declivity, have that set up for my Kastle as well, since these two are pretty much my daily drivers most days. But that might change, might spend more time on the head on that ski, so that might be what comes up there. Then the Oblivion is going to get mounted up to the Formula 130. Think that it's going to be good to get a baseline on just a full head setup. So I think that'll be a fun test there to see what kind of different combinations of boots and how they have an effect on those skis, just because they are a little bit of an outlier. They're quite different from a lot of 100 underfoot twin tips. So that should be a fun experiment there. And then Forcer 104 Unlimited. That one I have set up for the Shift 130 BOA. No real rhyme or reason. It was just kind of what I thought that I would be using first this season. Typically before the mountain opens, we do get a couple good snowfalls, and these were the ones that I was really jazzed to get out on this setup here. So that's why I set them up for that. But that one will certainly get some changes. Similar to that head conversation, I definitely want to try the Unlimited 130 with the Nordica ski, see if those two have if they kind of work better together, because they're the same brand. They're probably engineered with one another, since they're both in the Unlimited family. They both have similar intentions. So I think that'll be what I use that one for. And then same thing goes for the QST over here. Going to put a Salomon boot on that one, see how that goes. But I'm expecting awesomeness because I love that ski. And then the Unleashed 108 gets the Kastle boot. That's what I have it set up for right now. Haven't been able to get that one tested yet, since I broke the bottom heel piece on both of the boots actually. So waiting on some pieces there to replace, and then I'll get those tested and get them calibrated and adjusted and all that fun stuff. And then finally, to round it out, the purple machine. Got the QST X is set up for the Shift BOA, just to complete the whole purple look. Definitely one of the most aesthetically pleasing setups out there, in my opinion. But yeah, that should be fun. So yeah, that's it. That was my 100mm underfoot comparison, or yard sale, or Quiver video, whatever you want to call it. But really excited to finally show you guys what I've been using and what I use personally on a daily basis. And thank you to Jeff and Bob for allowing me the opportunity to show you guys what I have and let me speak to what I love in skiing. I think this is a really good representation of a mid-20s free ride all mountain skier would probably have in their quiver. Maybe might be worth talking about some things that I would add, or some things that I could get rid of. If I had to narrow it down to two skis, as I said before, probably be that Armada right there, and then likely it would be a toss-up between these two, just to have a touring option. I'm okay with going with a wider touring ski, just because usually if I'm touring, it means that we have fresh snow, so it might be worth having something wider. Something that I would add would probably be a proper carving ski. There's a few options there. That's one that I've been kind of hemming and hawing about for a while, but likely Kastle MX88. I spent a good deal of time on that this past winter and just love that thing. Absolute ripper of a ski. And that would probably make its way down there eventually. Would also consider a Salomon Stance 90. I think that that's more of a forgiving carving all mountain ski that would have some versatility to it. Because even if I go out there with the intention of like, I'm just going to go carving all morning, I would probably still end up in the trees. I'm a tree nut. I just love being out there. If I have the opportunity to, if I even see a little bit of fresh snow, I'm going into the trees for sure. So that Stance 90 just has a little bit more forgiveness to it compared to the MX. That would be a better option, a little bit more versatility with that. So that would certainly be on the list. Anomaly 88 would probably enter the discussion there, but I think that any of those three would really be nice over there. In terms of wider skis, probably would think about adding something that's a little bit more stiff and powerful into like a free ride ski. So maybe like an Anima at 115 underfoot. So it'd be similar to that QST, but it's a little bit more turny, a little bit more solid with the Kevlar in that Anima. But then also a blank, a Salomon blank would be great, just as a more turny resort powder ski. My time in Crested Butte kind of showed me that the X is not necessarily the best in the resort, just because a lot of times you do get spit out on the trail, and I want to make some nice carves back to the lift if I can. And those, they did it, but they didn't love it. And I think that something like the blank would give me just enough of that carving performance and that turning nature that I like to be able to satisfy that. So that would certainly be in there. And then one other that I would consider is the Black Crowes Corvus. I spent a lot of time on that last year on a bunch of powder days as well as some perfect groomer days. And that thing is awesome. I think I was on the 186, and that one I'd get in the 192. The blank, I know you're supposed to size up a lot, so it might be on the 194 for that one. But also, if I'm looking for a resort powder ski out here on the east, that's a little bit long. So if I was spending most of my time on the east and wanted a powder ski like that, I would probably go with the 186 in the blank, and then the Anima, just because it's on the heavier side, more burly. And we have some tight spaces here. I'd probably go with like that 186. Don't need to go much longer than that for that ski. But other than that, that's all I would add. And I don't really want to give any of them up. So most of them, if I do another one of these videos, most of these will probably be here. I do have some honorable mentions that got bindings taken off of them to fulfill this. I did have a bent 100 from 2022. No, probably earlier than that, like 2020. It's the gray one. That thing was super fun back then for me. Just really versatile. I mean, it's a bent 100, can do anything, anything that you want. And then last year I had it mounted closer to center, and then it turned into my park ski for a bit. And then I ended up needing the brakes from it to go on that Unleashed 108. So fortunately it had to be sacrificed. And it was just time. It's made itself out of my Quiver, and I only used it like once last year in a park format. So it was time to say goodbye to that one. And then also had a K2 Mindbender 106C limited edition that I won from a sales contest. That one I had in the 189. That one, it just kind of felt redundant in the Quiver. Like it was fun to have, but I felt like I got more use out of the QST 106. My girlfriend needed a set of bindings, so took that off, put them on her new skis. So honorable mention to those, great skis. Just unfortunately didn't make the cut for me this year. So we'll see. Maybe there'll be more the next time I do one of these, or less. We'll see. Maybe I'll take a Bob approach and minimalist kind of approach and try to get rid of some stuff. Or maybe I'll pull a Jeff and just keep racking them up, make a collection. So we'll see. Only time will tell. But in the meantime, thank you so much. Hope you guys have a great season, and see you soon. Bye.